There was a time I came home from work and there was a text message on the phone. I picked up the phone, they texted back, I texted, can we do the same thing that we did the last time we hung out? Said some things and that's when the picture of the junk came through. And you know, that's what made me, so I know something was going on.
Well, you do have a sugar daddy.
Yeah, I got a good sugar daddy. My sugar daddy been there for 10 years, have never ever left my side. I would never leave him. He come way before this. We've never had sex before. You know, he might want some pictures, but
Oh!
You have a relationship, but he sure didn't have a problem laying me down the other night, did you?
She's lying, Your Honor.
But you were intimate with Ms. Billingsley the other night?
I guess it's jealousy. I don't know what it is, Your Honor.
Well, I will take a lie detector test on that one.
If she's...
Things are already heating up as Ms. Woodbury struts in, claiming she's 110% sure Mr. Cage is the father. Judge Lake, nodding along, gets it. Woodbury is here to clear her name in front of the world. But hold up, Mr. Cage has his own version of the story.
Ms. Woodbury, you claim you are 110% certain that your fiancé, Mr. Cage, is the father of your 1-year-old son, Lexington. You say your reality TV persona has put you in the position of having to prove paternity to Mr. Cage, but also all of the naysayers on social media and the world.
Mr. Cage spills the beans and admits he's had doubts since the beginning. Oh boy, here we go. He says that from the moment Woodbury was pregnant, heard rumors left and right on social media. She's not about to stay quiet.
Mr. Cage, you say your paternity doubt began when the plaintiff was pregnant because of the many rumors that came from friends and others on social media. You are hoping today's results will prove you are the father.
Ms. Woodbury is over it, blaming her reality TV image for making things worse. She's clearly fed up with the rumors about her character. Now, let's find out how this whole crazy relationship started.
I don't have feelings for no one else but this man. There's always gonna be people in his ear no matter where we go, just because I do have that reality star TV persona. It could be not even denying our son or anything. No matter what I do with my life, someone has an opinion.
Your public persona, often you're portrayed as a girl that's fun, carefree, living life, sexy, fun.
Their love story is something else, sliding into DMs to instant romance. Mr. Cage says they met thanks to a mutual friend on social media, and Ms. Woodbury invited him to one of her events. But trust me, it gets wilder after that first night.
Can you take me back to how you met and tell the court how you feel about this public persona?
I didn't get with her because of her persona. I got with her because of the person she was. When I first met her, she hit me up on Instagram through a Snapchat from a friend that she saw, and she was just like, hey, I have an event, you know, I want you to come out, I want you to hang out with me and some of my friends.
You can't bring your friend.
But you can't bring your friend.
Things got serious fast when they ended up together that night. No protection, no worries, just vibes. Ms. Woodbury and Mr. Cage say they didn't even label it a relationship at first, but the plot thickens with what people started saying next.
So what does that mean? Do the walkthrough.
Yeah.
I invited him back home, and then he didn't leave after that. He stayed.
What you're saying is you went back to your place and you all were intimate on the first night?
Yes.
Did you use protection?
No.
Oh, y'all are doing the most. So we start off irresponsible.
Yeah.
Just when you think it can't get any messier, Mr. Cage shares how his friends warned him not to trust her. This definitely didn't help when Ms. Woodbury dropped the pregnancy bombshell.
I mean, like, people were always telling me, they were just like, even some of her co-stars, they were just like, hey, listen, don't trust Kaylee, she's out there. And I say birds of a feather flock together. So it was just like, oh, if you're hanging out with them, you must be...
Were you out there, Miss Woodbury? Tell the truth. What was going on?
Then I wasn't sleeping around. I was having fun. I'm 21, but I'm going out dancing.
Ms. Woodbury found out she was pregnant, but Mr. Cage's reaction was priceless. He didn't believe her. She remembers feeling weird and going to get a test, which came back positive. He only half believed her even after the second test. But soon, he starts wondering who else might be involved.
So at some point, Miss Woodbury, you find out you're pregnant. Take me to that day.
I think it was a year after we finally settled down, and I haven't been feeling right. I just feel weird. I just got up and went to the store. So I went up, got a test, and shortly after that, it said, positive, you're pregnant. Just yelled that to him, and I was like, hey, you're gonna be a dad.
So what was the response? Were you happy?
I was like, you're lying.
And here comes the plot twist. Mr. Cage starts suspecting. Then there's this awkward moment where the other guy pretty much hints the baby could be his. Mr. Cage recalls being in the car with this dude who goes, yeah, I got her, and the baby covered. Naturally, Cage's paternity doubts only got worse from here.
Like, we were in the car, and before we got out there, we We were just letting him know that she was pregnant. And he was like, oh yeah, I already know. The baby gonna be good. That's my girl, you know, like.
That's my girl, but yeah, other people say that to our friends all the time and you don't think anything of it, but when it's to me, it's like.
Because I know
to me, it's my
well,
girl,
the
like that's
correct
my girl.
response would have been congratulations, right?
Yeah.
As if things weren't complicated enough, Cage reveals everyone around him told him to get a DNA test. Things are definitely getting heated, and Cage admits the whole situation was messing with his head.
It started with people around her. They're very close to both of us. They're like, you need to get a DNA test because we don't even trust it.
I didn't know that
when we were filming, and I told you specifically that me and this person sat down because she couldn't film. Yeah, you remember that now, don't you?
The
She
DNA
told me
thing.
everything. She told me not to trust you. She told me about the guy, how not to trust you and the guy. She told me all of that, and she told me to watch out.
Judge Lake isn't holding back, telling Cage he's been acting supportive but secretly doubting Woodbury all along. But the doubt still lingers, and it's about to get way more intense.
You really weren't living your best life.
Yeah.
Right? And Miss Woodbury, what it seems like to me is this public persona was affecting your relationship.
Very much so. And then especially when it's like our child and you're gonna deny him, it hurts because there are fathers out there, are the father of a child, and they still deny it. And I don't, like you could 110% look, that's his.
Even though he had doubts, Cage was there for Lexington's birth and even signed the birth certificate. She knows there's more under the surface here.
He signed the birth certificate.
Signed the birth certificate.
I had to be there.
And now Lexington is a year old.
Yes.
You're his daddy.
Yep.
You have a relationship and bond with this beautiful baby. And yet somewhere deep inside you, there's just that question mark that won't go away.
I just want closure.
But there's no denying him. By the picture,
I just
and it
want
looks
closure.
a spitting image.
Judge Lake calls out Ms. Woodbury, saying that trying to prove the resemblance just shows how insecure she is about it. Right when you think it's done, things take a wild turn.
When you start singing a song about, and see, says he's got dimples and he's got dimples. He's got an eye and he's got an eye. Right? What it tells me is there is doubt. And you are trying to give him facts to convince him. When you gotta convince, there's doubt. It just means that the doubt is real. Am I lying?
You're being 100%.
Surprise! Ms. Woodbury drops a bombshell. She's pregnant with Cage's second child. The suspense in the room is real, as Cage explains how he really feels about fatherhood.
In this courtroom, that's defunct testimony because it doesn't mean anything. So the truth is the stakes are really high because you're pregnant again, Miss Woodbury.
I am. With the same man that laid with me the first time.
So we're having another baby. Have you thought about, what if Lexington is not my child?
We would have a long talk resulting in me going somewhere else. Yes.
Cage lays it all out, saying he'll always be in Lexington's life, but isn't so sure about staying with Woodbury. With emotions running high, Judge Lake moves to the moment of truth, the DNA test results.
I'll make sure of that, but with me and you, it's a whole different thing. I want to make sure that they're in a healthy family, not a broken.
So Miss Woodbury, I see the tears in your eyes. How did that make you feel? It was like the wind got knocked out of you.
It hurt.
And now his feelings about the relationship is that the relationship is contingent upon what's in that envelope Jerome had.
Boom, it's official.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Cage, you are the father.
Thank you.
Right off the bat, things get wild. Mr. McCormick says he thought Ms. Ball was the perfect girlfriend, but turns out she's a serial cheater, and he's not shy about calling her out either. This is gonna get messy.
Mr. McCormick, you say you thought you found the perfect woman until you discovered the love of your life, just a serial cheater on a rampage. You say Ms. Ball is a shameless adulteress, and there is no way you are her son Gavin's father.
Ms. Ball isn't letting that one slide. She admits she's cheated a few times, but insists that Mr. McCormick is Gavin's dad. But just wait till you hear his evidence against her. He brought props.
Ms. Ball, you admit to having stepped out on your relationship in the past, but you are positive Mr. McCormick is the father of your son, and you intend to prove paternity today.
Oh yeah, Mr. McCormick came prepared. He's got a whole exhibit on how to catch a cheater. He's all like, he loves trucks a little too much. It's both hilarious and a bit much, honestly.
Well, Your Honor, I found text messages, seen her getting in strange vehicles, seen videos. What haven't I found? Like, there's no way that I could be this child's father. I'm starting to become numb to all this. It's getting old.
Your Honor, there have been several times I have cheated, and I've been honest with him and told him about the times I've cheated.
This guy takes things to the next level with some undercover detective work. He even got sent a photo that wasn't exactly family friendly. Yep, he's pretty sure she's guilty, but Ms. Ball is not amused.
There was a time I came home from work and there was a text message on the phone. They texted back, I texted, can we do the same thing that we did the last time we hung out? Said some things, and that's when the picture of the junk came through. And, that's what maybe, so I know something was going on.
Oh, yes, something was going on.
Judge Lake tries to make sense of this whole mess, but there's still plenty more for her to explain, and we're all ears.
All of this
That's
cheating
disrespectful.
leads you to believe
Very.
that Gavin is not your biological son.
Yeah,
All right,
all
Gavin
these
is your
situations
son.
going on, I'm thinking, how could this kid, be mine?
He's crazy. and
That was a
disrespectful.
lot of information.
He knows Gavin is his
But
child.
you have admitted to cheating.
I
You
have.
said that. I've
Yes.
admitted it.
Ms. Ball tries to back up her claim with some math. Mr. McCormick isn't buying it, though. He's still got questions, and things aren't about to calm down.
When the doctor did the sonograms, he estimated that I became pregnant around June 20th. As far as the advancements of the baby adds up, and he was early. I mean, he came 32 weeks.
So did you ever tell any of the guys
I had said I'm pregnant, but I wasn't going to leave Ryan.
Just when you think she's done confessing, Ms. Ball spills even more tea. She even admits she told this other dude she was pregnant. Judge Lake looks like she's heard it all, but she's about to get more details.
It's a relationship you carried on for 6 months, and whether you had sex 3 times or 30 times, you told this guy, I'm pregnant, you may be the father, but I get what you're saying. You immediately, because you're good at that, you just kind of spin your way out of it, because I'm staying with him.
No, I'm not going to make it be his.
Well, that's what you really are saying.
He chose. I gave him an option.
Mr. McCormick's doubts are now through the roof, folks. The only thing that'll settle this now is the paternity test, and they all know it.
It's like, we had unprotected sex for, years, and then, or at least a couple years. And then when I found out she had cheated, then she ends up pregnant. It just doesn't make sense.
That's paternity doubt right there, right, Jerome?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what we do here. Where do we go from here? If Gavin is not your biological child.
If he's not my biological, have to leave. I don't know. I'm pretty attached to him, Your Honor.
Everyone goes totally silent as the judge finally opens that DNA envelope. And surprise!
It has been determined by this court. Mr. McCormick,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are the father.
Thank you.
This whole story kicks off like a wild reality TV episode you can't look away from. Mr. Miller is one of these potential dads, but he and his fiancée, Miss Dreyer, are ready to call foul on that idea. And trust me, this tale only gets more tangled from here.
You'd never have kids. And when she was born, she had 3 possible fathers, including Mr. Miller.
Yes, Your Honor.
Things start to get even messier as Miss Serfozo spills about her wild days. You won't believe what comes next as the party days get even more complicated.
Ma'am, at that time, I do have a past just like everybody else. At that time, it was party central for me. When I found out I was pregnant, I was involved with somebody else.
If you think that was wild, wait until Miss Serfozo drops this little nugget. She didn't use protection with Mr. Miller. And yes, it just gets juicier from here. Keep watching.
So the relationship became a sexual relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
You had sex without using protection.
Yes, ma'am.
Whoa, here comes the twist about more possible fathers. Yes, more. Judge Lake wants to know about the other potential dads aside from Mr. Miller, and Miss Serfozo explains that after catching Mr. Miller with her best friend, she went on to date someone else. Judge Lake can hardly keep up with the back and forth drama that's unfolding in her courtroom. This whole love triangle, or maybe love square, is about to get even messier.
The reason we had broken off is because he went to my best friend at my best friend's house. And at that time, I found another.
But you do remember moving on and sleeping with her friend? That part he remembers.
As if things weren't already off the charts confusing, Miss Serfozo talks about another guy she dated who stayed with her through her pregnancy. Oh, and you know Mr. Miller has something to say about this resemblance issue.
Any of these men, these 3 possible fathers?
One of them actually was throughout my whole pregnancy with me, cut her umbilical cord, and actually pursued on until he was excluded.
You've had excluded as a potential father.
Yes, Your Honor, that is why I'm here today.
Just when we think this love maze can't twist anymore, we find out how Mr. Miller and Miss Dreyer discovered this maybe baby baby existed. The room's getting tense, but there's still more to untangle.
She told told her through a text message. I never actually got a message that she was pregnant.
She never texted me or him or anybody to start with in December of 2013, who had ended up with Mr. Fozo. And he says, well, you know, I'm here with Michael's baby.
This is where Mr. Miller tries to pull out the "I wasn't even in town" card, complete with an alibi. Judge Lake steps in to do the math, pointing out that even if Mr. Miller left before August, there's still another month he could have been around. And yes, this alibi argument is just the beginning of their back and forth.
That's right.
So August.
I was gone from that place before August.
When was Paternity born?
June 14th, ma'am.
February. Oh, I'm getting through the year. Hold on. Sometime in September could have also been a window of conception.
Right in the middle of all this, Miss Fozo shares how hard it's been raising her daughter without help. And if you think that's all she has to say, you're mistaken. She's just getting warmed up.
I want to do the DNA on this, and I hate that I don't know who that is. And it kills me every day. I do apologize. I never thought I would be in this predicament, man. But I'm the one sitting here struggling to make sure she has that boy.
Now it's Mr. Miller's turn to fight, insisting he's not one to run away from responsibility. These two keep digging their heels in, but it's clear this argument isn't going to settle down anytime soon.
He takes care of my 4 plus his 3.
Yeah, I have 3.
Does that sound like a deadbeat to
She
you?
has
Yo,
4.
And he takes care of all of them.
I called child support, and they said that the postal thing was sent back, that he doesn't live where I gave them the address to.
Judge Lake tries to bring some order to the chaos, watching the two women bicker like it's a reality show. It's almost time for the big reveal, but there's still some squabbling to get through first.
It never ceases to amaze me when I see 2 grown women arguing back and forth over a man that's standing in the middle with nothing to say.
I never wanted him. He was just something else.
I already said what I had to say. I said I would step up to the plate if the baby was mine.
The big moment arrives.
You are not her father.
Told you.
Thank God. Thank God.
So now where's the other man?
This whole thing started off wild right from the jump. Miss Lee comes in ready to prove Mr. Green is definitely the dad of her 3-year-old son, Kingston. But trust me, this was just the warm-up.
Ms. Lee, you have come to court today with one goal in mind, to prove to Mr. Green that he fathered your 3-year-old son, Kingston. You say Mr. Green has denied your son from the moment you got pregnant, but today his denial will end.
Things only get crazier when Mr. Green starts talking. Mr. Green says Miss Lee's been ducking and dodging any chance of a DNA test, claiming he tried, but she kept giving excuses. But hold tight, it's about to get juicier.
And I try to reach out to her several times. She don't want to meet me in the middle. She always give me some runaround excuse for, you know what I mean, it don't make sense.
Mr. Green, even though you have doubt, you still have made an effort.
You know, I try to meet her halfway as far as taking the DNA test and things like that. But at the point me and her was talking, it was back and forth. We was never in no steady relationship. She knew I had a girlfriend already. She tried to break me up from that, and I told her
he moved into my home.
This part had the whole audience gasping and clutching their pearls. But wait, there's so much more coming.
So how did you explain to your girlfriend you lived in the house with Ms. Lee?
Oh, he couldn't. I called him.
She did.
Oh.
From his phone. So, yeah, I snuck, called the girl, woke him out his sleep and made him start talking and didn't let him know she was on the phone until the end of the conversation to let her know, yeah, your dude over here and I'm pregnant, you know.
Whoa.
It is what it is.
In your mind, you knew you weren't really in a relationship with him, but he was trying to play both sides.
Right.
If you thought this was over, here comes the next twist. Miss Lee casually admits she has a sugar daddy who's been helping her out for years, and she swears it's not like that. And yes, there's even more craziness coming.
I had came out of my sugar daddy's car one day.
So you do have a sugar daddy?
Yeah, I got me a good sugar daddy. My sugar daddy been there for 10 years, have never ever left my side. I would never leave him. He come way before this. We've never had sex before. You know, he might want some pictures, but
This back and forth was hilarious, but also exhausting. Mr. Green brings out this timeline to show all the times he asked for a DNA test, saying she kept giving him the runaround. Just when you think one of them's got a point, another plot twist pops up.
First of all, he was born on June 3rd. I went to the hospital, so a few days later going by, she's telling me, oh, it's too soon for him to come outside. He was just born, this and that. She refused right then, Your Honor.
I refused because he was a day old.
Let's go ahead and get the DNA results done, this and that. Oh, my way out here in Douglasville, I don't have a ride. You gotta come get me. I'm like, why don't I have to come get you? Why you can't meet me halfway? So she refused then, Your Honor, too.
Things go from silly to serious real quick here. Miss Lee gets emotional, talking about how she just wants Kingston to have a dad because she grew up without one. But even after this, they keep going.
Why are you getting upset?
Because I feel like he been through this. So why would you do that to your only child? You get what I'm saying? Me, growing up, I mean, I didn't have a father. So I feel like If you went through all this, why would you do that to your child? I would at least go through it first and then find out. Mr. Green don't do nothing.
I do, Your Honor. Like I said, I try to reach out to her.
How many times have you got your child?
You know what I mean?
This was the moment everybody was waiting for.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Green, you are the father.
Told you! I told you! Look at him!
This part is wild right off the bat. Ms. Billingsley says she's been covering over $10,000 in baby expenses all by herself since Mr. Broadnax won't help out because he thinks the kid isn't his. Now, we all just have to wait to see if this DNA test brings out the truth or more drama.
All because the defendant denies paternity of your daughter and refuses to help support her. You're suing Mr. Broadnax for half of those costs in the amount of $5,000 and claim today's paternity results will prove you right.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is like a ping pong match of accusations, both pointing fingers and saying the other cheated. The judge steps in, trying to figure out what exactly went wrong, but buckle up, this story is far from done.
Your Honor,
when it came
she
down,
skipped town with
I did.
my baby, supposedly my child, and she's so quick to skip town.
One, there was suspicion that he was cheating on me.
There's suspicion she was cheating, not me. There's suspicion she was cheating. That's why the baby might.
Now, Ms. Billingsley's really getting into it, talking about how excited she was to have a baby and start a family. You can feel the frustration building, and you just know this isn't the last we're going to hear about the parties.
I was 3 weeks pregnant when I found out I was pregnant. The first person I called was Mr. Broadnax to share the news because I couldn't have been more happy that I was about to have my. When I realized how constant it had become, I requested it to stop or I was going to leave.
Now, Mr. Broadnax has a reason for doubting. He found some "I miss you" text from Ms. Billingsley's ex. Plus, he heard she was hanging with some guys at her college. You can tell both of them are getting more defensive by the second. And this, he said, she said, is getting juicy.
So I picked up her phone and she was messaging her ex-boyfriend. I seen a message, hey, and I miss you. That's as far as it went. And then, okay, my friend went to college, the same college that she went to, the same school. That's all I told her, go to school. Bubbly, laughing, ha, ha, ha.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that colleges only consisted of females.
But this is a jaw-dropper moment. Ms. Billingsley claims Mr. Broadnax was recently with her despite having a girlfriend. The crowd's loving it, and the tension is thick, and we're all on the edge of our seats to see what'll happen next.
He sure didn't have a problem laying me down the other night, did you?
She's lying, Your Honor.
I'm lying?
But you were intimate with Ms. Billingsley the other night?
Well, I will take a lie detector test on that one.
She's my baby, Your Honor. I'm not a deadbeat.
You can't make this up. Mr. Broadnax says that if the child's his, he'd actually want to be with Ms. Billingsley, despite all the drama. Then the judge drops the best question. Does his girlfriend know he'd be down to get back together? The DNA test results are looking more important than ever now.
If it is my child, I would want to build a family with this woman.
Does your girlfriend know this?
No, Your Honor.
Well, Jerome, I don't think we need a lie detector test now, do we?
Shocker alert, Ms. Billingsley reveals she gave Bailey Mr. Broadnax's last name even though he never signed the birth certificate. The crowd's practically holding their breath, waiting for these results.
Did he sign the birth certificate?
No, Your Honor, I've submitted a picture of the birth certificate showing that he is not.
I wasn't able to see her get born or none of that, Your Honor.
Because he wasn't there for the birth.
So is there a chance he's not her biological father?
Just when you thought it couldn't get more tense, Ms. Billingsley admits to a brief hookup with another guy around the time she and Mr. Broadnax were having issues. Everyone's hanging on, waiting to see what the DNA test will say.
So there is a chance.
Due to the fact that when he was out of town and we were constantly fighting, call somebody and one thing led to another. It was not meant to happen, but it was not in any time.
Here we go, the big moment as the judge opens the DNA test results.
Mr. Broadnax, you are the father.
Now it's Mr. Weisler's turn to drop a bomb, sharing he owes almost $21,000 in child support, but thinks the kid might not even be his. But he's got to face some crazy twists first.
You say your paycheck is garnished each week, leaving you only $70. Today's results prove you are not the young man's father. You plan to return to your home state to get this enormous debt.
Just when you thought things couldn't get weirder, Mr. Weisler says doctors once told him he couldn't have kids, so how is he paying for one? He explains this whole medical thing that should have made him dad-proof, which he totally believed. And you won't believe where this goes next.
I always ask her, are you for sure it is mine?
You had doubts from the beginning.
Yes, ma'am. I had a torsion. You know, the doctor said right there, you're...
So the doctors told you you weren't
Yes, Your Honor.
able to have children due to a medical condition.
Things get even messier when Frazier admits there was someone else in the picture, but Whistler had already signed the birth certificate, basically locking him into dad duty. But trust me, we haven't even hit the biggest twist yet.
Him to have
You
your last
told
name.
me if I wanted that kid
To have your
my
last
last
name.
name and I wanted to claim him, I would be there for the birth.
Yeah.
And I was there.
That's
and
why
I
that's
did
your
it.
last name.
And then it come out all this time.
At 6 months, you knew.
Yeah, at 6 months after birth.
And here's where it just gets bananas. Whistler says Frazier told him about the other potential dad, and the kid was already 6 months old. This is only scratching the surface of what's to come.
Were you told that there could be a question regarding the paternity?
Yes, Your Honor. He told me straight up, yes, it could be this other man's.
Because he was proud to have a son and not denying it like you.
He should be standing up if it's his kid.
He
Why
did.
am I reliable to pay this over $21,000 when I was working?
Now the judge points out the obvious. Signing the birth certificate legally made Whistler the dad. The stakes are higher than ever, and we're only getting started.
Under the law, you are
Yes,
the
Your
legal
Honor.
father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did
We
you
have-
understand that when you were signing that birth certificate that day?
Yes, Your Honor, I certainly did, but there was no
understand.
other ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was mine.
Then, it turns out, Whistler went all out to see his son over the years, even driving hundreds of miles. But every time, there were some last-minute hiccups. Just wait till you see how this story of missed visits and no-shows unravels.
Have you tried to develop any type of relationship?
Numerous times, I have traveled over 300 miles to come and see him, and I would call.
At your convenience.
And ask Miss Frazier. Sure. Then when I would get up there on my way over, I would call and say, I'm on my way.
In a surprising twist, Frazier reveals she actually tried to get the state to test the other guy, but no one ever followed through. But with this new piece of info, things are about to go down a whole new path.
He's been on the hook and responsible for child support.
I've tried to get them over and over numerous times to test the other man, and I've tried to get them to do it, and they have never done it.
So I pay for it until...
That's not me.
Yeah, it is the same
No,
thing
it's not.
as you.
Dallas himself finally steps in, and it turns out he's known all along that his dad might not be his real dad. Dallas reveals he calls Whistler dad anyway, and the crowd cheers, knowing this whole paternity saga is about to take another wild turn.
As I was growing up, I did believe he was my father, but I was always told that it could be somebody else.
You were always told.
Yeah, she was
Which is
always
consistent
honest.
with your mother's testimony that she always tried to list the other person. Do you refer to him as dad? Okay. Do you have a relationship with that man?
Not anymore.
Then Frazier says she tried to switch the birth certificate to the other guy's name to take Whistler off the hook. But this story is far from over as they're about to open the final chapter.
Firsthand, your mother make the attempt to change your birth certificate?
I've seen her try to get the other guy listed as the father.
So that the state wouldn't be going after him.
So you
Because I've never felt that he should have to pay the child support, and because it wasn't right.
Finally, the moment everyone's been waiting for.
Mr. Whistler, you are not his father.
Dallas, that still is not going to change my love for you and wanting to spend time with you.
I still love you too.